करें, टाइम हो गया।
हाँ बिल्कुल स्टार्ट करें।
ओके मैम।
So, Assalamu alaikum everyone, and a very good morning. I'm Dr. Sahar Iqbal, Associate Professor of Pathology, and I'm here to give you an overview of pituitary syndrome and hyperpituitarism. This is the first lecture of endocrinology, so we will learn about the pituitary syndrome. Okay, so. Okay, so as you know that we have two types of the glands inside our body, ductless and with the ducts. So the glands with the ducts are known as exocrine gland. However, the glands which do not have any ducts, they are the ductless gland. They are known as endocrine glands. So the endocrine glands are responsible to secrete the endocrine hormone. So there are some specific characteristics for endocrine hormones. And what are these special characteristics? They have some specific rates and patterns of secretion. For example, some hormones are following the diurnal type of secretion pattern in which the secretion differs during the day. For example, cortisol. Then some hormones have the pulsatile manner. For example, gonadotropin releasing hormone have the pulsatile secretion manner, and some have the cyclic pattern. So the cyclic patterns hormones are those hormones which have some cyclic to follow, cycle to follow. For example, the hormones which are responsible to secrete in a cyclical pattern as in the menstrual cycle. Okay, and what are these hormones? These are FSH and LH, or the gonadotropin hormones. Okay, so along with the specific rate and secretion of the pattern, the secretion also depends on the feedback mechanism, and this is the characteristic of endocrine hormone, that they follow some specific feedback mechanism. Some have the positive feedback and some have the negative feedback. So now what is the negative feedback mechanism? In negative feedback mechanism, what happened when there is a target hormone inside the blood, it will give the negative feedback to the trophic hormone. I will explain you later in the later slides that the negative feedback is that whenever, for example, the thyroid gland is responsible to secrete the thyroid hormone or thyroxine. So whenever the thyroxine is present in the blood, it will give the negative feedback to the pituitary TSH or thyrotropin and TRH in the hypothalamus to stop the secretion, to stop the stimulation of TSH receptor to secrete the thyroxine. So this is the negative feedback mechanism, and most of the endocrine hormones follow the same mechanism. Then come to the effects of the hormones. The endocrine hormones affects only the cells which have the specific receptor for the specific hormone. For example, the TSH or the thyroid stimulating hormone will affect only on the thyroid gland because it has the TSH specific receptors. Okay. Now come to the types of the hormones, endocrine hormones. There are some trophic hormones and there are some effector hormones. So what are the trophic hormones? The trophic hormones are the hormones which controls the secretion of the other endocrine gland. For example, the all pituitary hormones are trophic hormones because they are responsible to control the endocrine secretion of other gland. For example, what are different types of the hormones which are secreted from the anterior pituitary? There are 6 common types of the hormones, including the growth hormone, the ACTH hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, LH, FSH, and prolactin. So when we are talking about the thyroid stimulating hormone, this is the trophic hormone, and it will affect on the effector hormone, which is the thyroxine. So the trophic hormone is the TSH and the effector hormone is the T4 or the thyroxine. So effector hormone, as I told you, that they produce an effect directly on the target organ, such as the T3, triiodothyronine, and the thyroxine or the T4 will affect on the target cells. So the trophic hormones are the hormones which affect on the other glands to secrete their secretions, and the effector hormones are the hormones which play their role on the level of cellular level. Okay. So these are some general characteristics of the hormones which can apply on each and every endocrine hormone. Now coming to the pituitary. So in this lecture, we will learn about the anatomy, histology, physiology, and some disease of the pituitary gland. Okay. So, as the anatomy of the pituitary gland is concerned, pituitary gland is a master gland. What is the master gland? Master gland is a gland which controls the activity of other endocrine glands. Okay, so where it is located? The pituitary gland is located in the skull, and where in the skull? In the base of the skull, in a bone which is known as sphenoid bone. So there is a depression in the sphenoid bone which is known as sella turcica, and where the pituitary gland lodges. Okay, so pituitary gland is basically controlled by hypothalamus, another gland which is present in the central nervous system, and it is responsible to secrete, to stimulate, or to inhibit the secretion of the pituitary hormones, especially the anterior pituitary hormones. Pituitary gland consists of two types of the lobes, anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. And when we are talking about anatomical language, so the anterior lobe is known as adenohypophysis and the posterior lobe is known as neurohypophysis. Okay, it is very small in the size. The pituitary gland is very small in the size, and it measures about 500 to 900 milligram. But its function is very great because it's a master gland, so it can control each and every endocrine gland of the body except some. For example, the parathyroid hormone is not, a parathyroid gland is not controlled by the pituitary. Similarly, the pancreas, which has the both exocrine and the endocrine activity. The endocrine activity of pancreas is not controlled by the pituitary. However, the other glands, for example, the thyroid gland, the adrenal gland, they are all controlled by the pituitary hormones. So the one characteristic of the pituitary hormone is that although it is very small in the size, but in case of the pregnancy or during the pregnancy, it can double in the size to compensate the requirement during the pregnancy. So this is a description of the pituitary, and this is the diagram of the pituitary. Here you can see that the sella turcica, where in the sphenoid bone, where the pituitary gland is lodged. This is the sphenoid bone. Okay, and there's a depression which is known as the sella turcica, and this is the pituitary gland which lodges in the depression or the sella turcica. This is the stalk of the pituitary, and it is connected with the hypothalamus. So in the next diagram, you can also see the sagittal section of the pituitary gland or the brain, where here you can see the anterior and the posterior part of the pituitary. There is a stalk which is connected with the hypothalamus. Another section, here you can see that in the horizontal section or the cross section, there is a pituitary gland and anterior and pituitary gland. This is a small size gland, pituitary gland, and it is connected with the hypothalamus by means of the pituitary stalk. So these are the diagrams where you can see the anatomy of the pituitary gland. Okay, now come to you can see that the consistency of the pituitary gland. This is anterior pituitary and this is the posterior pituitary. So when we are talking about the anterior pituitary is, or the anterior lobe is comprised around 75% of the total weight of pituitary. Okay. Okay, so it is granular in the nature, and it is responsible to secrete the 6 hormones as I told you earlier. So it consists of 6 different types of, or the 5 different types of the cells I will tell you later on. Okay, now the posterior pituitary. Posterior pituitary is not glandular in nature, but the posterior pituitary is comprised of most of the axons of the neurons in the supraoptic and the paraventricular nuclei of the hypothalamus. So it consists of the axons. And why the axons are there? Because it is responsible to store the secretion which are secreted from the hypothalamus. And these secretions are the oxytocin and ADH, or the arginine vasopressin. Okay. So this is the description which I have told you. Anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. The one thing is to remember that the posterior lobe of the pituitary does not produce any hormone, but it is responsible to store the hormone which are secreted from the hypothalamus, and they are named as oxytocin and ADH. This is thing which you have to remember. Okay. Now coming to the histology of the pituitary gland. Histology means that the thing which you can see in under the microscope. So when we are talking about the cells which are present in the pituitary gland, they have some histological characteristics. And what are these characteristics? Histological characteristics are those which we can see under the microscope under some staining. You know about the hematoxylin and eosin staining. So there are three types of the cells which can be seen under the microscopes in the pituitary gland. And these cells are the acidophilic cells, the basophilic cells, and the chromophobe cells. The acidophilic cells are the cells which can stain red or which can stain pink after hematoxylin or eosin staining. Then basophilic cells are the cells which can stain as or which can appear as blue under the microscope, and chromophobe cells are the cells which do not have any stain after hematoxylin and eosin staining. Okay, so when we are talking about the cells, we know that these cells are responsible to secrete the certain hormones, and these hormones are the growth hormones and the lactotrophs, prolactin, the ACTH, LH and FSH, and TSH. So coming to the somatotrophs. Somatotrophs are the cells which are responsible to secrete the growth hormone. Okay, and we are talking about the anterior pituitary. Okay, so growth hormone is secreted by the somatotrophs, and these cells are acidophilic in nature, and they accounts about the 50% of the anterior pituitary gland. So majority of the cells which are present in the anterior pituitary are somatotrophs. Then coming to the lactotrophs, as the name suggests that the lactotrophs secrete the prolactin. Again, acidophilic in their nature and around only 10 to 15% of the anterior pituitary. Then coming to the corticotroph cells. The corticotroph cells are responsible to secrete the adrenocorticotropic hormone. They are basophilic in their nature, and they are sharing the 15 to 20% of the anterior pituitary gland cells. Then coming to gonadotrophs, the gonadotrophs comprise of two types of gonadotrophs are responsible to secrete two types of the hormones, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormones. They are basophilic in their nature, and again very small amount of the gonadotrophs are present in anterior pituitary, only 10 to 15%. Then the thyrotrophs. The thyrotrophs are the cells which secrete thyroid stimulating hormone, which is also known as the thyrotropin hormone. Okay, they are basophilic in nature, and again very small amount of thyrotrophs are present in the anterior pituitary. So this is all about the histology of the pituitary gland, in which different type of the cells are present, which are differently appear under the microscope, and they are responsible to secrete a specific type of the hormone from the anterior pituitary. Okay. Now, this is the summarized table in which you can see the columns and the rows. In the columns, there are the cells which are responsible to secrete the hormones, as I told you in the previous slide. And in the rows, there are the name of the hormones, the stimulator of the hormones, inhibitors of the hormone, the target gland, because the all pituitary hormones are, you know, what are these hormones? There are two types of the hormones. The one is the trophic and one is the effector hormone. So these are the trophic hormones. So there is a effector gland also. So these are the target glands where the pituitary hormones affects. And then their effect, if trophic effect, the trophic effect of the secondary hormone. Okay. For example, the corticotroph are responsible to secrete the ACTH, and the stimulator of the ACTH is corticotropic releasing hormone. Then arginine vasopressin, glycoprotein 130 and the different cytokines. And what is CRH? CRH is corticotropic releasing hormone which is secreted from the hypothalamus. As I told you before that all anterior pituitary hormone are under the control of hypothalamus. So there are some inhibitory factors as well as the stimulatory factors. So the stimulatory factor from the hypothalamus for the corticotroph is CRH. Then the inhibitor of the hormone is glucocorticoid, and this is a negative feedback mechanism. Glucocorticoid is secreted from the adrenal glands. The target gland is the adrenal, and the effector hormone is the glucocorticoid, the cortisol, for example. So whenever there is increased amount of the cortisol in the blood, it will give a negative feedback to the CRH as well as the ACTH to stop the secretion. Okay. Then what is the effect of the effector hormone, glucocorticoid? Trophic effect. So what will be happen when ACTH will be released? It will stimulate the adrenal cortex to secrete the mineralocorticoid and glucocorticoid. The major mineralocorticoid is aldosterone and the major glucocorticoid is cortisol. Now coming to the second type of the cells, the gonadotrophs, which are responsible to secrete the FSH and LH, and they are stimulated by gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus and the estrogen from the ovary. Then they are inhibited by the FSH and LH are inhibited by the sex steroid and the inhibin. The inhibin is also a hormone which is secreted from gonads. Okay, the target glands for FSH and LH are gonads, that is ovaries and testes. So what is the action of the FSH? FSH promotes the serum production in sperm production in the man, and it stimulates the ovaries to enable the ovulation of women. So they are responsible to produce the cells which are responsible for the fertilization. Then coming to the luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone regulates the secretion of the sex hormones. For example, in men, it stimulates the secretion or regulates the secretion of testosterone, and in female or in women, it's responsible to regulate the estrogen and the progesterone which are secreted from the ovary. Then the third type of the cells, the thyrotrophs, which are responsible to secrete the thyrotropin or TSH from the anterior pituitary. It is stimulated by the hypothalamus, and the stimulator is thyrotropic releasing hormone. The inhibitor is the end product, that is the thyroxine and the triiodothyronine, which is secreted from the thyroid gland. The other inhibitors are the dopamine, somatostatin, and the growth hormone also. The trophic effect of the TSH, it stimulates the thyroid to increase the secretion of thyroxine hormone. Thyroxine, the T4, okay, the T4 secreted from the, or the tetraiodothyroxine, which is secreted from the thyroid gland. And the fourth type of the cell, the lactotroph, which are responsible to secrete the prolactin. It is stimulated by the thyrotropin releasing hormone again. So the thyrotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus is responsible to secrete the thyroid hormone as the thyroid stimulating hormone as well as the prolactin hormone. Okay, it is also stimulated by the estrogen. The inhibitor is a dopamine. You know that dopamine is a neurotransmitter which is secreted from the brain. The target gland of the prolactin is the breast. So it is responsible to secrete the milk during or after the childbirth or the postpartum period. Now coming to the fifth type of the hormone or the cells, which is known as the somatotroph, and the somatotrophs are responsible to secrete the growth hormone. The growth hormone is the major hormone, as I told you before, that the 50% of the anterior pituitary are comprised of somatotrophic cells. So somatotrophic cells are responsible to secrete the growth hormone. Growth hormone is stimulated by the growth hormone releasing hormone from the anterior pituitary and others analog. Okay, so it is inhibited by the somatostatin and the insulin-like growth factor 1, which is mainly secreted from the liver. The target gland or the target organs are the liver, bone, and other tissues because it is responsible for the growth of a person with a growth hormone. So it does not affect directly on another gland, but it affects on the tissues basically for the growth. So, what is the function of the growth hormone? It stimulates the growth of the bones and the muscles and promotes the protein synthesis and the fat metabolism. So, this is all about, this is the summarized table of the all hormones, the stimulator, the inhibitor of the hormones, the target gland, and the trophic effect. Now, coming to the next slide. So this was all about the anterior pituitary. Now coming to the posterior pituitary hormone. So I have told you before that there are two types of the hormones which are secreted from the posterior pituitary. The antidiuretic hormone ADH, which is also known as the arginine vasopressin, and the function of the ADH is the vasoconstriction of the arterioles to increase the arterial pressure. So it manages the blood pressure whenever there is a hypotension. But the main function of the antidiuretic hormone, as the name suggests, antidiuretic. So it increases the reabsorption of the water from the distal renal tubule. So it will reabsorb the water from the renal tubule. Okay, antidiuretic hormone. Diuresis means the increased secretion of the urine from the kidneys, and the antidiuresis means there is a decreased secretion. So whenever there is a decreased secretion, it means that there is an increased reabsorption of the water from the renal tubule. So this is the main function of the antidiuretic hormone. It is also known as the vasopressin, arginine vasopressin. Okay, the second hormone which is secreted from the posterior pituitary is the oxytocin. And what is the function of the oxytocin? The one and only function of the oxytocin is to stimulate the uterus to contract at the childbirth. So it helps during the labor. Okay, so when the uterus contracts, it will help the baby to come out from the vagina. So it stimulates the precipitate the birth, as well as it also stimulates sometimes the mammary glands or the mammary ducts to ejection of the milk in the lactation postpartumly. So the oxytocin is responsible for the contraction of the mammary gland, and the prolactin is responsible to secrete the milk, okay, for the production of the milk, and the oxytocin to secrete the milk or to eject the milk. Okay, so this is the function of the oxytocin, the contraction of the uterus as well as the contraction of the mammary ducts to eject the milk. These are the posterior pituitary hormones. But one thing you should keep in the mind, that they are not produced by the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland, but they are stored in the posterior pituitary gland. They are secreted from the hypothalamus. Okay, coming to the next slide. Again, this is a diagrammatic presentation of the pituitary gland. I have told you that anterior and posterior, these are the hormones which are secreted from the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. These are the glands which are the effector glands, and I have already described you this slide. Now this is a negative feedback mechanism. I told you before that I will tell you in the next slide. So this is the presentation where you can understand easily. This is the central nervous system. Okay, this is the brain, the central nervous system. This is the hypothalamus, and this is the pituitary gland. Okay, so there is a magnifying picture of this pituitary gland. Hypothalamus secrete the stimulatory hormone or the releasing factor to stimulate the anterior pituitary, and from this anterior pituitary, the releasing the pituitary hormones will be secreted, and this pituitary hormone, the trophic hormones, will act on the different types of the glands, for example the adrenal, thyroid, and the gonad, to secrete the effector hormones. For example, ACTH is secreted from the pituitary, and it will act on the adrenal cortex to secrete the glucocorticoid and the mineralocorticoid, and this glucocorticoid and the mineralocorticoid will give the negative feedback to the pituitary as well as to the hypothalamus to inhibit the secretion of ACTH and corticotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. So this is the negative feedback mechanism which is normally present. Whenever there is an increased concentration, it will give the negative feedback, and whenever there is a decreased concentration, for example in the hypothyroidism, when there is a no thyroxine in the blood, it will give the positive feedback. For example, it will ask the pituitary to stimulate the thyroid gland with the more TSH. So the more TSH will be secreted from the pituitary, and the more TRH will be secreted from the hypothalamus to increase the secretion of the thyroid hormone. So this is all about the feedback mechanism. Okay. Now coming to the pituitary disorders. So we have two types of the disorder whenever we are talking about the endocrinology, either the insufficiency or the decreased level or the increased level of the hormones. So you should remember always that there are two types of the disorders. Either there is a deficiency or the decreased level or the increased level of the hormones. So these are the anterior pituitary hormone, growth hormone, ACTH, TSH, prolactin, FSH, and LH. Growth hormone, whenever there is an increased concentration of the growth hormone, increased level of the growth hormone, whatever is the cause, in the child, in children, it is the terminology or the disease or the disorder is known as gigantism. And whenever there's a growth hormone excess in adults, the terminology is acromegaly. So this gigantism and acromegaly is differentiated according to the age of the patient. Okay. Again, according to the age of the patient, the decreased level or the insufficiency hormone in the children is known as dwarfism, and in the adults, there is no specific terminology, but the presentation is lethargy or the premature aging in case of the adults after the adolescence. Okay, so this is all about the growth hormone disorders. Now coming to the ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. Whenever there is increased level of the ACTH from the anterior pituitary, the disease is known as Cushing disease. Okay, so this is the Cushing disease in which there is increased concentration of the ACTH. However, the decreased level of the ACTH will lead to the Addison disease. Okay, now coming to the thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone increased level. Thyroid stimulating hormone secreted from the anterior pituitary whenever there is increased concentration of the TSH from the anterior pituitary. The secondary hypothyroidism will be there. So whenever the pituitary hormones are responsible to increase the thyroid hormone, this is known as the secondary hypothyroidism. The primary hypothyroidism is the condition where the primary thyroid gland is concerned or is affected or it is disturbed. So the primary condition is the condition in which the primary gland of the effector hormone is affected. For example, whenever there is a thyroid destruction, the thyroid hormone destruction, there is a hypothyroidism, but it is primary in the nature. But whenever there is a pituitary gland is affected, there is a decreased concentration of the TSH. It is known as the secondary hypothyroidism. So when the secondary means the pituitary hormones are affected, and the primary means the effector hormones from the primary gland are affected. Okay. Now coming to the prolactin. Whenever there is increased concentration of the prolactin, the condition is galactorrhea or the amenorrhea. Galactorrhea means the increased secretion of the milk or the increased production of the milk from the mammary gland, and amenorrhea means there is no menstruation. Okay. So this is the presentation whenever there is increased level of the prolactin in case of the prolactinomas. Okay. So whenever there is decreased level of the prolactin, the patient will suffer from failure to lactate, or there will be no lactation postpartumly. Now coming to the follicle stimulating hormone, there is no specific disease or the presentation in the increased level, but the decreased level can lead to the late puberty and the infertility in male and female also. Okay. So coming to the luteinizing hormone will lead to menstrual cycle disturbances. There may be the menorrhagia, amenorrhea, or the multiple menstrual cycle disturbances, and a decreased level or whenever there is a decreased concentration of the LH from the pituitary hormone, it can again lead to amenorrhea in females and impotence in males. Okay, so these are the disorders. This is a summary of the disorder. Now coming to the next slide, the posterior pituitary disorder. The posterior pituitary disorder, definitely it will affect the two hormones, the oxytocin and the ADH. Whenever there is increased concentration of the oxytocin, so what is the function of the oxytocin? It will contract the uterus during the childbirth, so it precipitates the birth. The premature delivery can be there. The premature delivery, the premature birth can be there in patient with increased level of the oxytocin. Okay, and the another function of the oxytocin is, as I have told you, that the contraction of the mammary duct. So excess milk production can be seen in these patients where the increased level of oxytocin is there. Now coming to another scenario, whenever there is a decreased concentration of the oxytocin, so the reverse condition will be happen, the prolonged childbirth. The period of the partum will be prolonged. The partum period will be or the childbirth will be prolonged, or there will be diminished milk secretion whenever there is decreased concentration of the oxytocin. Now coming to the vasopressin, the increased concentration of the ADH will lead to a syndrome which is known as the syndrome of inappropriate ADH or antidiuretic hormone. And the decreased concentration of the ADH will lead to diabetes insipidus. And we will learn in the later slide that what is SIDH and what is diabetes insipidus. Okay, remember these two terminologies related to the dysfunction of ADH. So these are the causes of the anterior pituitary disorders, the hypopituitarism and the hyperpituitarism. Hypo means the decrease and hyper means the more. So the pituitarism means, the hyperpituitarism means that there's a decreased secretions of the hormones from the anterior pituitary. The causes can be anything: the infarction of the pituitary gland, the removal of the pituitary gland, or destruction of the gland by a disease process which is not related to the pituitary itself but the other secondary disorders which can affect the pituitary glands also. Then hyperpituitarism. The hyperpituitarism, the increased secretion of the pituitary hormones, and it is always and almost caused by a adenoma, the pituitary adenoma. Okay, what is adenoma? Anyone? What is adenoma? Yes, it's a tumor of gland. Very good. It's a tumor of gland in which the pituitary is enlarged or any type of the cells is enlarged. Okay. It's a benign tumor. Yes, it's a benign tumor. Okay. So hyperpituitarism. Hyperpituitarism, as I told you, that there are many causes which can lead to hyperpituitarism, but it is manifested differently. Sometimes there is an absent or a decreased secretion of only one pituitary hormone. Okay, but sometimes it can lead to deficiency of all pituitary hormones, and this condition is known as panhypopituitarism. Pan means pura, the entire. Okay, so the panhypopituitarism is a condition in which all pituitary hormones are affected and there is a decreased secretion of the pituitary hormone. Okay, the hyperpituitarism signs and symptoms are different, and there is that the manifestation can be acute and can be chronic. The symptoms can be slowly can be seen very early or can be late. Okay, so hyperpituitarism is either the primary or maybe the secondary. The primary, as I told you, that the cause in the pituitary gland, and the secondary by any type of the disease which may be in the hypothalamus. Okay, the treatment and the prognosis of hyperpituitarism depend on the cause of the hyperpituitarism. Then what is the cause of the hyperpituitarism? So we will not treat the disease, we will treat the cause of the hyperpituitarism. Okay, and the extent of the hypofunctioning of the gland. Okay, so we can sometimes treat the manifestation also. Coming to the next slide. Causes of hyperpituitarism. As I told you that there are primary and the secondary causes, so the pituitary causes and the hypothalamic causes. Pituitary causes, it can be occur by the infarction, by the infection. Infarction, you know what is infarction? Anybody? What is infarction? Yes. What is infarction? Yes. Infarction is the decreased supply of the blood, so it can lead to necrosis. So infarction, yes, ischemia, the irreversible cell death, very good. So the infarction, whenever there is an infarction in the pituitary, definitely it will lead to the decreased blood supply to the cells of the pituitary. So the cells of the hormones, or the cells which are responsible to secrete the hormone, will be damaged. Okay, so they will not function properly, so there will be a deficiency of the hormone. So the infarction is one of the cause of the hypopituitarism. The most common infarction is the postpartum necrosis. It's not a most common, but it's a most popular necrosis, which is known as the postpartum necrosis, and it is known as the Sheehan syndrome. Okay, what is a Sheehan syndrome? Sheehan syndrome is a syndrome which is occur in postpartum period in female, and there is a slide in a couple of slide later, and I will tell you about the Sheehan syndrome in detail. The other causes of the infarction may be the vascular disease, maybe the head trauma. Then the infections, any type of the infection in the pituitary can lead to the hyperpituitarism. This infection may be the tuberculosis, the fungi, any type of the bacteria, or the other the mycology, for example the syphilis or a toxoplasmosis. And there is a condition which is known as the pituitary apoplexy, and this is a congenital disorder in which the pituitary gland is not present at all, and the empty cell atasika is there. Okay, and this is a congenital, incompatible with the life. Okay, now coming to the next slide. Okay, so there are some granulomatous diseases in the pituitary gland which can lead to hyperpituitarism. These are sarcoidosis and the histiocytosis, and these are the diseases, in which the granuloma is the form, and there are some masses which can occupy the tissue of the pituitary gland, and which can lead to the destruction of the glandular structure of the anterior pituitary, leading to the decreased secretion of the hormones. Okay, then infiltrative disease, definitely some autoimmune diseases. For example, the autoimmune lymphocytic hypophysitis is a condition in which there is a lymphocytic infiltration in the pituitary gland, which lead to the destruction of the normal pituitary anatomy and the structure. So there will be there will be a compromised secretion of the pituitary hormones. And the hemochromatosis, the accumulation of the iron in the pituitary gland. Then a neoplasm malignancy, which can involve the pituitary gland. It can be a pituitary adenoma, the benign tumor, or the craniopharyngioma, or the metastasis, or the primary carcinoma. Metastasis is a condition in which there is a metastasis or the secondary deposition of the primary cancer anywhere else. Okay, so the cancer is somewhere else, or the malignancy is somewhere else, and there is a deposition by the blood flow or by the lymph flow in the pituitary gland. So the metastasis or the primary carcinoma of the pituitary can lead to the neoplasm. So the mass will be there, it will occupy the normal structure, and the hypopituitarium can be there. Aneurysm of the internal carotid artery, idiopathic or the genetic causes in which there's a deficient production of the pituitary hormone, synthesis of abnormal hormone, or the iatrogenic. What is iatrogenic? Yes, bachcho? Anyone? What is iatrogenic? Iatrogenic is a condition. Iatrogenic, yes. Iatrogenic is a condition, is a disease which occur due to the medical intervention. Okay, medical intervention or the surgical intervention. So whenever there is a medical resection or the surgical resection of the stalk with the pituitary stalk, डेफिनेटली। स्टॉक नहीं होगा तो हाइपोथैलेमस स्टिमुलेट नहीं करेगा, हाइपोथैलेमस स्टिमुलेट नहीं करेगा तो एंटीरियर पिट्यूटरी से हार्मोन नहीं निकलेंगे। तो होगा तो ये डेफिनेटली स्टॉक रिसेक्शन किसी मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट, कोई सर्जिकल ट्रीटमेंट किसी डिजीज की वजह से, बट इट विल लीड टू द हाइपोपिट्यूटिज्म। देन द रेडिएशन, फॉर एग्जांपल इन केस ऑफ द सीएनएस ट्यूमर्स, द रेडिएशन दी जाती है तो ट्यूमर सेल्स के साथ जो है वो नॉर्मल सेल्स भी डैमेज होते हैं। तो व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ डैमेज इन द नॉर्मल सेल्स, इट विल लीड टू hyperpituitism, or removal of the pituitary adenoma again lead to hyperpituitism. Okay, now coming to the other causes other than pituitary, and these are the hypothalamic causes. Hypothalamic, there can be a mass in the hypothalamus, again infiltrative lesion in the hypothalamus, the radiation, infection, or the developmental or the genetic causes in the hypothalamus. The genetic or the developmental destruction or the agenesis or the abnormal hypothalamus again lead to the hyperpituitarism, because it will not release the regulatory hormones or the stimulatory hormones or the factors to stimulate the anterior pituitary. So it will lead to hypopituitarism. So these are the hypothalamic causes. Again, the head trauma or the structural anomalies of the hypothalamus. As I told you, in the pituitary there is a empty cell atresia, in which apoplexy of the pituitary gland, in which there is a no pituitary gland. So whenever there is a structural anomalies of the hypothalamus, again it will not secrete its intrinsic or the stimulatory factors to stimulate the pituitary gland. Okay, next slide. स्लाइड्स बहुत स्लो आगे जा रही हैं. Okay, now coming to the clinical features of the hyperpituitism. As I told you before, स्लाइड्स बहुत ज़्यादा हल्की आगे जा रही हैं, स्लो चल रहा है. Okay, so sorry for delaying in changing the slides. There is some slowing the network. Okay, so coming to the clinical features of the hypopituitarism. Clinical features, as I told you, that the feature will be depend upon the which type of the hormone is affected, either one type or the more type or the panhypopituitarism is there. Again, the onset किस type का है, presentation किस type की है, acute onset है or there is a chronic onset, or what is the age of the patient, age of the onset, either in the children or in the adults, or the duration of deficiency, in at what extent it is going on. So coming to the growth hormone deficiency, I told you before that there are two conditions depending on the age of the patient. The first is the dwarfism, whenever there is a growth hormone deficiency, and other in the adolescents or in the adults, whenever there is a no syndrome, but there is a manifestation such as the lethargy or there is an increase in the aging process than normally. So deficiency in the children lead to the short stature. Okay, this is not a child. This is the dwarf. Okay, the growth hormone deficiency in the children lead to the dwarfism, but जब ये mature होंगे तो definitely ये dwarf बन जाएंगे. Deficiency in the adults may lead to the asymptomatic or may be present with the non-specific symptoms like fatigue, decreased muscle mass, or the increased risk of the cardiovascular diseases. Okay, the major mediator of the growth hormone is the insulin like growth factor, which is secreted from the liver, and it is responsible for the function or the mediator of the growth hormone. So, the growth hormone function, it depends on the insulin like growth factor. So, in the growth hormone deficiency, definitely there will be a defect in the insulin like growth factor also. So, insulin like growth factor, which secreted into the blood, is under the control of the growth hormone. So, whenever there is a no growth hormone or there is a decreased concentration of the growth hormone, insulin like growth factor will also be decreased. So, the manifestation of the or the that the action of the growth hormone will also be decreased, or it will not act properly. Now, coming to the gonadotropin deficiency, hypogonadism. In women, if there is a before puberty gonadotropin releasing hormone deficiency or the hypogonadism, the primary amenorrhea will be there. Primary amenorrhea means there will be no menstruation at all. There will be no menarche. Okay, and the failure of puberty definitely. If it occurs after the puberty, there will be the secondary amenorrhea. It means that menarche will be there, but the amenorrhea is the secondary, and regression of the secondary sexual characteristics and infertility after puberty. In men, if the deficiency is before the puberty, definitely it will lead to the failure of puberty. Okay, there will be no puberty reach in the women, in men. And then after puberty, there will be a decrease libido or the impotence and loss of secondary sexual characteristics, and ultimately infertility after puberty, hypogonadism in men. Now coming to the TSH deficiency, according to the age, it can be classified as the cretinism and the myxedema. This is a child, this is a cretin child, cretinism. And in the adult, the condition is known as the myxedema. Okay, but the deficiency is the secondary because the pituitary gland is affected, and I told you that whenever there's a pituitary hormones deficiency, they are known as, or the efficiency, it is known as the secondary. When the deficiency to secondary hypothyroidism, and secondary hypothyroidism lead to the cretinism and the myxedema according to the age of the patient. The clinical features are same as in the hypothyroidism of any cause: cold intolerance, dry skin, loss of hair, mental dullness or sluggishness, lack of concentration, bradycardia, slow reflexes, constipation, increase in the weight, obesity, hoarseness of the voice, and puffiness of the faces. So here you can see that the hair, dry hair, coarse, sparse hairs, facial expression, you can see then lateral eyebrows are thin because of the thinness in the hairs. Periorbital edema or the myxedema can be seen in the body. Puffy, dull face with a dry skin. Okay, so these are the specific features of the hypothyroidism in adults. ACTH deficiency. The deficiency of the ACTH is known as the Addison disease, in which there is a decreased secretion of the ACTH, which can lead to the decreased secretion of aldosterone from the adrenal cortex and the corticosteroid, which can lead to the weakness, again, nausea and vomiting, anorexia, weight loss, postural hypotension because of the decreased aldosterone and hyponatremia. And due to decreased cortisol, there will be a hypoglycemia in this patient. And these are the signs and symptoms of Addison disease. And Addison disease is due to the ACTH deficiency in anterior pituitary hormone. Prolactin deficiency. Prolactin deficiency, inability to lactate postpartum, and this is the manifestation of the Sheehan syndrome. What is Sheehan syndrome? Sheehan syndrome is the syndrome in which there is a hypopituitarism. And this is a condition, this is a syndrome which can be seen postpartum. What is postpartum? After the delivery of the child. The period after the delivery of the child is known as the postpartum. So what happened in the Sheehan syndrome? It's a rare but potentially life-threatening and the complication of the severe postpartum hemorrhage. Okay, when there is an increased blood loss after the delivery, this is known as the postpartum hemorrhage. Increased blood loss after the delivery. So postpartum hemorrhage will lead to decreased volume of the blood in the circulation, and this decreased volume in the blood may lead to the hypovolemia, and this hypovolemia can lead to the necrosis or the ischemia of the pituitary gland, which was double in the size during the pregnancy. As I have told you in my first or second slide, that the pituitary gland has a tendency to double in the size during the pregnancy to compensate the the requirement of the body for the child and for the mother also. So it double in the size in the pregnancy, but whenever, if there is a condition of the postpartum hemorrhage, the hypovolemia will be there, the hypovolemic shock will be there, and along with the other organs, the pituitary will also affect. So there will be a necrosis of the pituitary, which lead to the hypopituitarism. And the first hormone which is affected in the pituitary is the prolactin. Okay. Common presentation of the Sheehan syndrome is failure to lactate due to the decreased secretion of the prolactin, or amenorrhea or oligomenorrhea. Manifestation differ. It can be a manifest very early, just after the birth, or any time from the immediate postpartum period to years after the delivery. So it can be happen after several months of the delivery. It can be manifest. So this is all about the Sheehan syndrome. Now, what is the diagnosis of the hypopituitarism? You know that the hypopituitarism, the main manifestation of the hypopituitarism is the decrease release or the decreased concentration of the anterior pituitary hormones. So anterior pituitary hormones measurement made the diagnosis of the hypopituitarism. Okay, so there are some biochemical diagnosis of the pituitary insufficiency, which will demonstrate the low levels of the anterior pituitary hormones. Okay, and the low levels of the target hormones also. When there will be no pituitary hormone or the insufficiency of the pituitary hormone, definitely it will not stimulate properly the effector gland to secrete the effector hormones. So the target hormones will also be decreased. So setting क्या होगी? TSH decrease होगा और T4 भी decrease होगा. ACTH decrease होगा, aldosterone और cortisol भी decrease होगा. Okay. Then the diagnostic criteria, or you know that the gold standard diagnosis is the provocation or the stimulation test, which may be required to assess the pituitary reserve. कि pituitary के अंदर कितने रिजर्व मौजूद है, इसको स्टिमुलेट किया जाता है. pituitary को वो कैसे स्टिमुलेट किया जाता है? वो ऐसे स्टिमुलेट किया जाता है कि if there is a growth hormone deficiency, we stimulate the growth hormone by means of its stimulator. Stimulators क्या होते हैं इसके? Growth hormones is stimulated by the hypoglycemia, you know. And hypoglycemia कैसे create किया जाता है? Insulin देके. So we give the insulin injection to the patient, okay, and we will see the increase in the level of the growth hormone. The other means of the growth hormone stimulatory tests are the pharmacological method, in which the L-DOPA, which is the synthetic type of the dopamine, and the arginine, which can be given to the patient in a growth hormone deficiency. So normally what happen, जब ग्लूकोज कम होता है तो ग्रोथ हार्मोन बढ़ता है, तो इंसुलिन दे के ग्लूकोज को कम किया जाता है. और नॉर्मली ये देखा जाता है कि व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ द ग्लूकोज लेस देन 40 मिलीग्राम पर डेसीलीटर, ग्रोथ हार्मोन should must be more than 3 microgram per liter. Okay, it means that the response is normal. अगर ये नॉर्मल रिस्पॉन्स नहीं होता, ग्रोथ हार्मोन स्टिमुलेट नहीं होता, इसका मतलब ये है कि पिट्यूटरी इनसफिशिएंसी है, पिट्यूटरी अपना काम सही नहीं कर रहा. सो देयर इज अ हाइपो growth hormone deficiency, or there is a decreased concentration of the growth hormone from the pituitary. Now coming to the prolactin. प्रोलैक्टिन को कैसे टेस्ट किया जाता है? जैसे मैंने पहले बताया था कि थायरोट्रोपिन रिलीजिंग हार्मोन दो किस्म की स्टिमुलेट करता है. थायरोट्रोपिन रिलीजिंग हार्मोन निकल रहा है हाइपोथैलेमस से, एंड इट विल स्टिमुलेट द थायराइड स्टिमुलेटिंग हार्मोन एज वेल एज द प्रोलैक्टिन. सो प्रोलैक्टिन को डेफिनेटली जब स्टिमुलेट किया जाएगा तो इसको डबल हो जाना चाहिए. ठीक है, लेकिन क्या होता है कि जब TRH को हम इस अमाउंट में देते हैं 200 to 500 माइक्रोग्राम IV इंजेक्शन, तो जो नॉर्मल प्रोलैक्टिन जो बेजल लेवल होता है उसको 200% इंक्रीज हो जाना चाहिए. ये नॉर्मल रिस्पॉन्स है. अगर नहीं हुआ तो इसका मतलब है प्रोलैक्टिन डेफिशिएंसी है. ओके, आर यू गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? यस क्लास, आर यू विद मी? Okay, I'm going to explain the growth hormone provocation test again. What is growth hormone? Growth hormone is the hormone which is secreted from the somatotrophs of the anterior pituitary. Okay, to see whether the growth hormone deficiency is there or it is not there. Okay, क्या होता है, हम प्रोवोकेटिव टेस्ट देते हैं. प्रोवोकेटिव टेस्ट क्या होता है, स्टिमुलेटरी टेस्ट होते हैं. स्टिमुलेट किसको करना है, ग्रोथ हार्मोन का करना है. तो ग्रोथ हार्मोन की स्टिमुलेशन जो होती है, एक तो होती है हाइपोथैलेमस से, जो कि नॉर्मल स्टिमुलेशन होती है, और उसको जो है वो हम कैसे करते हैं, सोमेटोट्रॉफिक रिलीजिंग फैक्टर आता है और वो स्टिमुलेट कर रहा होता है. लेकिन इसका जो ग्रोथ हार्मोन के अदर फैक्टर्स हैं जो उसको स्टिमुलेट करते हैं, उसमें हाइपोग्लाइसीमिया होता है. हाइपोग्लाइसीमिया जो है वो ग्रोथ हार्मोन को बढ़ाता है. जैसे व्हाट इज द, मैंने बताया था ना आपको कि इसका ग्रोथ हार्मोन का भी एक साइक्लिक पैटर्न होता है, एक सर्कैडियन रिदम होता है. उसमें ये होता है कि अर्ली मॉर्निंग में जो है वो ग्रोथ हार्मोन सर्ज होता है. क्यों होता है, क्योंकि अर्ली मॉर्निंग में ग्लूकोज लेवल्स कम होते हैं. ठीक है, तो वेन एवर देयर इज अ डिक्रीज कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ द ग्लूकोज और द हाइपोग्लाइसीमिया, इट विल स्टिमुलेट द ग्रोथ हार्मोन. ओके, तो इसी चीज को लेते हुए हम फार्माकोलॉजिकल जो है वो इंसुलिन देते हैं पेशेंट को. ठीक है, ये टेस्ट करने के लिए कि ग्रोथ हार्मोन की डेफिशिएंसी है या नहीं है. इंसुलिन देने के बाद ग्रोथ हार्मोन को चेक किया जाता है. पहले बेजल लिया जाता है, बेजल लेवल ले लिया कि नॉर्मल लेवल क्या है, फिर इंसुलिन दी, और उसके बाद फिर दोबारा चेक करते हैं. चेक करने के बाद देखते हैं कि ग्रोथ हार्मोन जो है वो बढ़ा है कि नहीं है. इट शुड बी मोर देन 3. ओके, अगर मोर देन 3 माइक्रोग्राम पर लीटर नहीं हुआ तो इसका मतलब है कि ग्रोथ हार्मोन डेफिशिएंसी मौजूद है. ओके, इज दिस ओके? ओके. ओके, नाउ कमिंग टू द टीएसएच. अगेन प्रोवोकेटिव टेस्ट होगा. प्रोवोकेटिव टेस्ट कैसे होगा? अच्छा, टीएसएच की डेफिशिएंसी, इट मींस दैट इज अ सेकेंडरी हाइपोथायरायडिज्म. सेकेंडरी हाइपोथायरायडिज्म मींस टीएसएच नहीं है. टीएसएच नहीं है तो क्या होगा, टीएसएच को स्टिमुलेट किया जाएगा. टीएसएच को स्टिमुलेट कैसे करेंगे? टीआरएच से स्टिमुलेट करेंगे. टीआरएच क्या है? थायरोट्रोपिक रिलीजिंग हार्मोन इज अ फैक्टर व्हिच इज सिक्रेटेड फ्रॉम द हाइपोथैलेमस. सो वी विल गिव मतलब हम ये इन विट्रो दे रहे हैं पेशेंट को, अंदर से नहीं देते, इन विट्रो देते हैं पेशेंट को. एक लेबोरेटरी सेटिंग में बुलाते हैं, पेशेंट को बिठाते हैं और उसको फिर इन विट्रो जो है वो दी जाती है. ठीक है, यानी बाहर से जो है वो उसको एक्सोजिनसली जो है वो दी जाती है. टीआरएच सिंथेटिक होते हैं ये सारे. टीआरएच जो है वो उसको इंजेक्शन दी जाती है आईवी, और उसके बाद लेवल दिए देखे जाते हैं टीएसएच के कि ये बढ़े कि नहीं बढ़े. टीएसएच बढ़ेगा डेफिनेटली, तो टी4 भी बढ़ेगा, टी3 भी बढ़ेगा. अगर नहीं बढ़ा तो इसका मतलब ये है कि देयर इज अ इनसफिशिएंसी और देयर इज अ इनसफिशिएंट एक्शन और द इम्प्रॉपर function of the thyrotropes in the pituitary. Okay, now coming to the next slide, LH and FSH gonadotropes. इनके लिए जो stimulatory test है वो gonadotropin releasing hormone है. Again, gonadotropin releasing hormone is given intravenously to see the response of the LH and the FSH. Response of the LH and FSH, basal LH and FSH is measured, and then gonadotropin releasing hormone के बाद दोबारा देखा जाता है तो ये कई फोल्ड इंक्रीज हो जाता है. ओके, अगर नॉर्मली है, नॉर्मल रिस्पॉन्स. अगर नॉर्मल रिस्पॉन्स नहीं है, इंक्रीज नहीं हुआ, इसका मतलब है LH एंड FSH आर compromised, दे आर नॉट रिलीजिंग सफिशिएंटली फ्रॉम द पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड. ACTH, अगेन इंसुलिन का मैंने आपको बताया था कि ग्रोथ हार्मोन को स्टिमुलेट करता है. ग्रोथ हार्मोन के साथ साथ ACTH को भी स्टिमुलेट करते हैं. तो ACTH को इनसफिशिएंसी को भी स्टिमुलेट करने के लिए इंसुलिन दी जाती है. सो जब सस्पेक्टेड होता है पेन हाइपोपिट्यूटिज्म तो ACTH और ग्रोथ हार्मोन एक साथ ही इन्वेस्टिगेट हो जाते हैं इंसुलिन टॉलरेंस टेस्ट के साथ. इंसुलिन दी जाती है, पहले ACTH को नॉर्मल बेसलाइन लिया जाता है, फिर इंसुलिन दी जाती है और फिर ACTH मेजर किया जाता है. अगेन ACTH शुड बी इंक्रीज आफ्टर गिविंग द इंजेक्शन ऑफ द इंसुलिन. ओके, लेकिन यहाँ पे अगर एबनॉर्मेलिटी होती है तो नहीं बढ़ता. The another test is known as the ACTH टेस्ट. कोसिनट्रोपिन टेस्ट होता है. ACTH स्टिमुलेशन टेस्ट कहते हैं. ACTH स्टिमुलेशन टेस्ट जो होता है वो प्राइमरी हाइपो कॉर्टिसोलिज्म के लिए चेक किया जाता है, सेकेंडरी के लिए नहीं किया जाता है. ठीक है ना. ACTH मतलब ये कि प्राइमरी ACTH मौजूद है, लेकिन सेकेंडरी ये एड्रिनल में, आपको एड्रिनल ग्लैंड जब पढ़ेंगे लेक्चर तो वी विल एक्सप्लेन यू लेटर ऑन. ओके, यहाँ ACTH के लिए जो है वो हम इंसुलिन टॉलरेंस टेस्ट को ही फोकस करेंगे. Okay, so this was all about the diagnosis of the anterior pituitary deficiencies. Coming to the next slide. ओके, तो जब तक नेक्स्ट स्लाइड आती है मैं आपको बताऊं कि ये सारी जो है वो डेफिशिएंसीज थी। ठीक है ना, ग्रोथ हार्मोन की भी पढ़ी हमने, थायराइड की भी पढ़ी हमने, ठीक है, गोनाडोट्रोपिन्स की भी पढ़ी। अब आ जाती है सफिशिएंसी या इंक्रीज लेवल। सफिशिएंसी जो है वो आप प्रॉपरली टर्मिनोलॉजी नहीं है। इंक्रीज लेवल्स जो है वो यूज़ होता है एक्सेस ऑफ द हार्मोन्स। ओके, तो एक्सेस ऑफ द हार्मोन जब भी होगा वो डेफिनेटली वो बिल्कुल अपोजिट होगा डेफिशिएंसी से। तो जब एक्सेस हार्मोन होता है ग्रोथ हार्मोन का, मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया था कि एक जो है वो गाइगेंटिज्म होता है अकॉर्डिंग टू द एज ऑफ द पेशेंट। इन चिल्ड्रन इट इज नोन एज गाइगेंटिज्म एंड इन एडल्ट्स इट इज नोन एज एक्रोमेगाली। सो एक्रोमेगैली और गैगेंटिज्म में क्या होगा, सब कुछ बड़ा बड़ा हो जाएगा। ठीक है ना, गैगेंटिज्म में तो ये है कि जैसे बच्चों में डॉर्फ हो जाता है, ग्रोथ हार्मोन डेफिशिएंसी होती है, इस तरह बच्चों में जो है वो गैगेंटिज्म होगा, यानी अनप्रोपोर्शनल जो है वो इनलार्ज फीट होंगे, इनलार्ज हैंड्स होंगे, लिम्स जो है वो बॉडी के प्रोपोर्शनेट नहीं होते। ठीक है, ग्रोथ हार्मोन की बात बता रही हूँ। देन जो है आपका आ जाता है ACTH। जब ACTH जो है वो बढ़ जाता है, जब एक्सेस होता है, तो कंडीशन इज नोन एज कशिंग डिजीज। ओके, जब कशिंग डिजीज होगी डेफिनेटली इट विल स्टिमुलेट मोर एंड मोर एड्रीनल टू सिक्रीट मोर एंड मोर कॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड एंड मिनरल कॉर्टिकॉइड। तो बिल्कुल अपोजिट हो जाएगा जो कि हमने एडिसन में पढ़ा था। ठीक है, उसमें एडिसन में हमने क्या पढ़ा था, हाइपोनेट्रीमिया होगा, हाइपोवोलीमिया होगा, यहाँ पे हाइपरनेट्रीमिया होगा, यहाँ पे डायबिटीज हो जाएगी पेशेंट को। ठीक है, बिल्कुल उल्टा हो जाएगा, बिल्कुल अपोजिट टू डेफिशिएंसी जब एक्सेस हो रहा होगा। ठीक है, क्योंकि एबनॉर्मेलिटी है ना, तो नॉर्मल तो नहीं होगा, डेफिनेटली कोई डिसऑर्डर होगा। ठीक है, इसी तरीके से जो है वो आपका ACTH हो गया, और ग्रोथ हार्मोन के बाद जो है वो थायराइड आता है। थायराइड में जो है वो आपके हाइपरथायराइडिज्म हो जाएगा। और हाइपरथायराइडिज्म कौन सा होगा, प्राइमरी होगा सेकेंडरी होगा? ओके, नाउ कमिंग टू द ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ द हाइपरपिट्यूटिज्म। ट्रीटमेंट, ये हाइपरपिट्यूटिज्म की बात हो रही है कनेक्शन विद द प्रीवियस स्लाइड्स। पिट्यूटिज्म जब भी मैंने आपको बताया था कॉज पे डिपेंड कर रहा है। अगर जो है वो इंसफिशिएंसी है और नहीं रिलीज हो रहा, तो डेफिनेटली क्या होगा कि या तो वो हार्मोन्स दिए जाएंगे जो कि इंसफिशिएंट है, या फिर वो हार्मोन्स दिए जाएंगे जिससे टारगेट हार्मोन्स इफेक्ट कर रहे हैं, जो इफेक्टर हार्मोन जो सेलुलर लेवल पे फंक्शन हो रहा है। तो व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द TSH, इट विल स्टिमुलेट द थायरॉक्सिन। TSH खुद से कोई काम नहीं करता, थायरॉक्सिन काम करता है। ठीक है ना, T4 जो कि थायराइड से रिलीज हो रहा है। तो जो हाइपोथायरॉयडिज्म है, सेकेंडरी हाइपोथायरॉयडिज्म, इसकी ट्रीटमेंट ये होती है कि लीवोथायरॉक्सिन दी जाती है। लीवोथायरॉक्सिन सिंथेटिक जो है वो थायरॉक्सिन होता है। ठीक है, तो ओरली जो है वो लाइफ लॉन्ग पेशेंट को दी जाती है। ये ट्रीटमेंट है हाइपोथायरॉयडिज्म, सेकेंडरी हाइपोथायरॉयडिज्म की। ओके, ACTH की डेफिशिएंसी जब हो रही है तो क्या होगा, डेफिनेटली कोर्टिसोल नहीं निकलेगा, मिनरल कॉर्टिकॉइड, एल्डोस्टेरोन नहीं निकलेगा। उनकी रिप्लेसमेंट में ओरल टैबलेट्स दी जाती हैं, हाइड्रोकोर्टिसोन, कोर्टिसोन एसीटेट एंड प्रेडनिसोन इन पेशेंट विद ACTH डेफिशिएंसी। LH और FSH का फंक्शन क्या है, डेफिनेटली मेल एंड फीमेल गुनैड्स को स्टिमुलेट करते हैं ताकि सेकेंडरी सेक्स हार्मोन्स रिलीज हों। जब नहीं होते डेफिनेटली तो उनकी वजह से इफेक्ट होता है, इनफर्टिलिटी है, लिबिडो है, सेकेंडरी सेक्सुअल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं वो सब डिक्रीज हो जाती है। तो उनको ट्रीटमेंट देने के लिए हम इफेक्टर हार्मोन देते हैं, टारगेट हार्मोन देते हैं। इन मेन के अंदर जो है वो टेस्टोस्टेरोन किया जाता है, जबकि वुमेन के अंदर ईस्ट्रोजन एंड प्रोजेस्टेरोन जो ओवरी से निकल रहे हैं वो दी जाता है। ग्रोथ हार्मोन के लिए जो है वो ग्रोथ हार्मोन नहीं दिया जाता है, ठीक है ना, क्योंकि इसका कोई फैक्टर ग्लैंड नहीं है, फैक्टर हार्मोन नहीं है, कोई इसका टारगेट हार्मोन नहीं है। तो ग्रोथ हार्मोन के लिए ग्रोथ हार्मोन दिया जाता है, लेकिन स्पेशली ये चिल्ड्रन के अंडर ट्रीटमेंट होती है जब ये इनकी ग्रोथ प्रॉपर नहीं होती, बिफोर जो एपिफिजियल एंड है वो क्लोज ना हो। एपिफिजियल एंड क्या होता है? एपिफिजियल ग्रोथ प्लेट होती है जो कि ग्रोथ एंड जो लॉन्ग बोन्स होते हैं उनको इनकी ग्रोथ करवाती है। उससे पहले जो है वो ग्रोथ हार्मोन दिया जाता है, सिंथेटिक फॉर्म होती है इसको, जिसका नाम है सोमेटोट्रोपिन। ग्रोथ हार्मोन की है ये, सिंथेटिक फॉर्म है सोमेटोट्रोपिन। इसको बाहर से दिया जाता है, ओरली दिया जाता है, या आईएम टैबलेट्स भी होती हैं, इंजेक्शंस भी होते हैं, ठीक है। एडल्ट्स में दी जाती है ताकि उसके जो साइड इफेक्ट्स हैं ग्रोथ हार्मोन के वो ना हो, लिथार्जी ना हो, वीकनेस ना हो। और चिल्ड्रन के अंदर ग्रोथ के लिए दी जाती है ताकि स्पर्ट हो ग्रोथ की बिफोर, क्योंकि एक एज के बाद जो है वो फिर नहीं होती। सोमेटोट्रोपिन दी जाता है, ये ट्रीटमेंट है हाइपोपिट्यूटिज्म का। अच्छा, ये एक्सेस की बात मैं आपको बता चुकी हूँ, जो मैं अभी जब स्लाइड्स नहीं चल रही थी मैं जब बता रही थी। तो शुड वी गो थ्रू दिस और बताइए, या मैं आपको रीड करके बताऊँ? ग्रोथ हार्मोन के लेवल चेक करेंगे, डेफिनेटली विल चेक द ग्रोथ हार्मोन लेवल्स, बेसल लेवल्स, दे आर मोर और नॉट। और वी कैन चेक द इंसुलिन लाइक ग्रोथ फैक्टर ऑल्सो, क्योंकि मैंने आपको बताया था कि दिस इज द मीडिएटर ऑफ द ग्रोथ हार्मोन, सो इंसुलिन लाइक ग्रोथ फैक्टर भी बढ़ा हुआ होगा, ठीक है। इसके अलावा कॉजेज क्या होते हैं? कॉजेज मैंने बताया था ना आपको कि एडिनोमा हो सकता है, तो कोई भी रेडियोलॉजिकल एग्जामिनेशन ऑफ द पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड, इधर देयर इज एडिनोमा और नॉट, including the MRI or the CT scan, can lead to the diagnosis of the pituitary adenoma or the adenoma of the cells of the growth hormone secretory, which are the somatotrophs. Okay, ट्रीटमेंट क्या है? डेफिनेटली अगर एडिनोमा है तो रिसेक्शन हो जाएगा और रेडिएशन हो जाएगा, या फिर इनहिबिशन होता है इसका, इनहिबिटरी जो है वो कुछ मेडिसिन दी जाती हैं ग्रोथ हार्मोन की, विच आर द ब्रोमोक्रिप्टन। ओके, टेम्पररी मेजरमेंट होती है, लेकिन ये डिक्रीज कर देती है ग्रोथ हार्मोन को बाय 50%। ओके, एंड वी कैन गिव द अनदर इनहिबिटरी फैक्टर विच इज नोन एज द ऑक्ट्रियोट्राइड, ओके, फॉर द सब ऑप्टिमल रिस्पॉन्स ऑफ द अदर ट्रीटमेंट। नाउ कमिंग टू द पोस्टीरियर पिट्यूटरी डिसऑर्डर्स। पोस्टीरियर पिट्यूटरी डिसऑर्डर्स मैंने बताया था आपको दो हैं, एसआईडीएच और दूसरा होता है डायबिटीज इंसिपिडस। व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ इंक्रीज कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ द एडीएच, इट इज नोन एज द syndrome of inappropriate diuretic hormone, and whenever there is a decreased ADH concentration, it is known as a diabetes insipidus. Okay, these are the major disorders of the posterior pituitary. However, even if the posterior lobe become damaged, posterior lobe of what? Posterior lobe of pituitary become damaged, hormonal deficiency usually do not develop. Why? Answer me. Yes, class. कनेक्शन है या नहीं है? कनेक्शन है या नहीं है? कहाँ चल रहा है? देखिए कोई क्लास कुछ भी नहीं आ रहा। Yes, they are produced by the hypothalamus. Okay. इसको सही करते हैं, सही सही है। दोबारा से चलाना पड़ता है। Okay. So now coming to the SIDH, syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone. Okay, too much ADH secreted, which lead to the SIDH syndrome. अच्छा, normal function क्या है ADH का? ADH का normal function है, जी वालेकुम सलाम, जी बोले।
मैडम आपकी क्लास का टाइम ओवर हो चुका है, मेरी नेक्स्ट क्लास शुरू होने वाली है 5-10 मिनट बाद।
बस खत्म है, 5 मिनट में खत्म है, ये आखिरी दो
ठीक,
तीन स्लाइड्स हैं। ठीक है।
जल्दी करवा लें प्लीज, थैंक यू।
हाँ बस 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 हो रहा है बस, ठीक है। ओके, वी हैव वेरी शॉर्ट ऑफ टाइम, सो द टाइम इज ओवर। सो मैं आपको बिल्कुल जो है वो एग्जैक्टली बता रही हूँ, मैं अब स्लाइड्स नहीं पढ़ूंगी। ठीक है। एडीएच का नॉर्मल फंक्शन ये है कि एंटी डायरेटिक हार्मोन है, ये डायूरेसिस को कम करता है, ठीक है, यानी कि रीअब्जॉर्प्शन करवाता है। तो इन एप्रोप्रिएट में एक्सेस सिक्रीशन होती है, जब एक्सेस सिक्रीशन होती है तो वाटर की एब्जॉर्प्शन ज्यादा हो जाती है, जब वाटर की रीअब्जॉर्प्शन रीनल ट्यूब्यूल से ज्यादा होगी तो ऑस्मोटिक प्रेशर ब्लड के अंदर बढ़ जाएगा और रीनल के अंदर सिक्रीशन कम हो जाएगी, तो इट विल लीड टू ओलिगोयूरिया और एन्यूरिया। हाउएवर इन द ब्लड द ऑस्मोलैलिटी विल बी डिक्रीज, क्योंकि एडिमा हो जाएगा सेल्स के अंदर, ठीक है ना। सो दिस इज द मैनिफेस्टेशन ऑफ द SiADH, जिसमें एडीएच जो है वो ज्यादा निकल रहा है, ज्यादा सिक्रीट हो रहा है, ठीक है। ये SiADH है। सिम्टम्स इसकी वही होंगी जो मैंने अभी आपको बताई है। असेसमेंट इसकी अगेन जो बायोकेमिकल टेस्टिंग के होगा, यूरिन के अंदर जो है वो स्पेसिफिक ग्रेविटी एलिवेटेड हो जाएगी, क्योंकि ओलिगो यूरिया एमिनो यूरिया हो रहा होगा, एनयूरिया हो रहा होगा इस वजह से। और सोडियम और दूसरे जो मार्कर्स हैं या जो सॉल्यूट्स हैं वो कम होने लगे। क्लिनिकल मैनिफेस्टेशन बता दी इसकी। डायग्नोस्टिक टेस्ट ये होता है कि वाटर डिप्रिवेशन टेस्ट दिया जाता है, इसके अंदर वाटर को रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर देते हैं। अगर वाटर को रिस्ट्रिक्ट करने के बाद भी पोलीयूरिया हो रहा है तो इसका मतलब ये है कि डेफिशिएंसी इज रिलेटेड टू सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम और द पिट्यूटरी, और अगर नहीं होता तो इसका मतलब ये है कि पिट्यूटरी के अंदर एडीएच तो सिक्रीट हो रहा है लेकिन इसका फंक्शन जो है वो किडनी पे सही नहीं हो रहा होता है, उसको कहते हैं नेफ्रोजेनिक, यानी नेफ्रो मतलब किडनी से रिलेटेड। द एक्शन इज नॉट प्रॉपरली एट द रीनल ट्यूब्यूल बट द डेफिशिएंसी इज नॉट एग्जैक्टली देयर, बट द एक्शन इज compromised. दिस इज नोन एज द नेफ्रोजेनिक डायबिटीज insipidus. ओके। ट्रीटमेंट वही होता है इसका, क्या होता है ट्रीटमेंट, कि डेफिशिएंसी है तो हम उसको बाहर से देंगे, बाहर से देते हैं इसको डेस्मोप्रेसिन के नाम से आती है ये भी, इसको एबीपी और अर्जिनिन वेसोप्रेसिन जो कि एडीएच होता है ये बाहर से दिया जाता है न्यूरोजेनिक के अंदर। और एक और मेडिसिन होती है जिसको फार्माकोलॉजिकल एजेंट है डायबिटीज, वो दिया जाता है, ठीक है। नेफ्रोजेनिक की ट्रीटमेंट इतनी जरूरी नहीं है, ठीक है। सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट टुडेज लेक्चर। इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन यू कैन मैसेज मी, or you can ask me later on, or you can leave a message. So if you want any question you can